Hello everyone, we are going to solve thermodynamics questions of GATE 2017. So let us move to question. The first will solve 1 mark question. The first question is the pressure versus volume diagram given below represents reversible isothermal curve. So see a reversible isothermal curve at temperatures T1, T2 and T3. Considering 1 mole of ideal gas for all the 3 isothermal processes, which one of the following is true? So the pressure versus volume diagram is there at different temperature, and it is given that it is a reversible process, and since it is also given that the gas is ideal, so we are going to use ideal gas equation, that is PV equal to nRT, right? So here PV will be equal to RT because 1 mole of gas is there, right? Now we are going to draw PV diagram. So if you see P1 V1 is equal to R is constant, like equal to T1. Suppose if you increase the temperature, right? If you increase the temperature, suppose it will be T2, and if you keep constant at one factor like pressure or volume, suppose I am keeping the pressure constant, okay, P I am taking constant to understand the diagram. So when P is constant, then if the temperature increases, like suppose the first temperature is T1 and second temperature is T3, suppose it is T3, right? Then what is happening over here, that the volume is increasing, right? So P into V2, it will be P2 into V2. Since P1 and P2 are equal, so V2 has to increase. So when V2 is increasing, that means the temperature T3 has to increase, right? So similarly P3 into V3, so here this is one V3, this is V2, this is V1, right? P3 equal to what? Something, it will be T2. So T2 will be more higher, right? So the correct sequence will be T1 is smaller than T3 and T3 is smaller than T2. Okay, so the correct answer will be, see the option, yeah. So this will be the answer, right? Question 4, option B will be the answer, that is T2 is greater than T3, right? Same thing, is greater than T1, right? Okay. Now next question. For the electrochemical reaction Cu2 plus Zn is equal to Zn2 plus Cu, the standard cell potential at 25 degrees centigrade and 1 atm pressure is given. The reduction potential of copper 2 plus 2 Cu, it is 0.337 volt, and reduction potential it is given, it is E naught, it is given basically E naught, it is given Zn2 plus 2 Zn, it is minus 0.763 volt, right? So this is also called as reduction potential, right? The E naught value is nothing but the reduction potential. So what will be the complete equation here? It is given Zn2 plus Cu, right? Okay, so if you break the equation here, if you break the equation, then Cu2 plus 2 electron is giving you Cu, and here Zn equal to Zn2 plus 2 electron. For the first equation, this one, the reduction potential it is given as 0.337, right? For the second case, it is given as minus 0.760, but since the equation is reversed, because this potential is given for this equation, like for the reduction equation, right? But here the reaction is opposite, so that's why it will be in, right? Now we will add these two. When we will add these two equation, then we will get this final equation. So to find the complete for the standard cell potential, each cell will be what? Simply we will add this one. Right, so add this one. It will be 1.1 volt. Right, guys? Okay. So this is the answer. Question number 5 answer. Now next question. The rate of dissolution of aluminum particles in liquid steel is proportional to concentration difference delta C. Delta C is defined by given first CB. CB equal to bulk concentration of dissolved aluminum in liquid steel. C star equal to saturation concentration of aluminum in liquid steel at a given temperature. Cm equal to density of aluminum, atomic weight of aluminum. Okay. Now, so delta C we need to find that. Delta should be proportional to what? It is given the rate of dissolution of aluminum particle in liquid proportional to concentration difference. The concentration difference should be there. So see here, the concentration of aluminum in the bulk, it is given here, and this is the saturation concentration. Okay, and this is Cm is equal to density difference. So density we do not need to consider here right now. Okay, so what will be the concentration difference? The concentration difference will be the total saturation. Okay, the total saturation concentration minus the bulk concentration, because this will give you the constant difference, because C star and CB both are in the unit of concentration. But if you see in the case of option B, so option A will be the correct one. Option B CB, it is concentration, but Cm is nothing but a density of aluminum. So how can you differentiate density with a concentration? So this will not be the correct answer. So similarly, this is not the correct answer. So this is also not the correct answer. Okay. So option A will be the correct answer. Now next question. Hydrogen dissolves in palladium by the reaction H2 equal to 2H. At 300 degrees centigrade and pH2 equal to 1 atm, the solubility of hydrogen in palladium is 1.64 into 10 power 4 mm cube per kg of Pd. Okay. At 300 degrees centigrade and pH2 equal to 0.09 atm, the solubility of hydrogen in palladium is given 1. So we need to find the solubility of hydrogen at 0.09 atm. So the equation which is following here is H2 equal to 2H. So this is a problem of what? Sievert's law. Right? So according to Sievert's law, here you will find the equilibrium constant. Then this will be what? Partial pressure of H. Sorry, this will be nothing but the concentration of H to the whole square divided by the partial pressure of H2. So this implies H is equal to KPH2, right? So H is nothing but some constant and directly proportional to square root of pH2, right? So here, so H in the first case it is given as 1.64 into 10 power 4. Right, and pH2 in the first case it is given as 180. So H2 we need to find, and pH2 in the second case, pH2 in the second case it is given as 0.09 atm. Right, so we will simply put this equation, put this one in the equation and divide. So 1.64 into 10 power 4 is equal to k root under 1. Second case, we need to find here. Okay, k root under 0.09, right? Simple. So h into will be what? 1.64 into 10 power 9 into square root of 0.09, that is 0.3, right? So if you find the answer, then it will be 0.492 to 10 power 4. Okay, and here it is asking the answer up to 1 decimal place. It is asking about 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place, that means, so we will multiply this one 10 to the power 4, so 4920.0. So basically 4920 will be the answer. Okay guys, so now let us move to 2 marks question. Okay, so in the 2 marks question, the first question is, in 2 marks question, the first question is T1 and T2 are the melting points of pure metal A, okay, and pure stoichiometric oxide AO2. Okay, fine. T1 is melting point of A, T2 is melting point of AO2. Okay, and T1 is smaller than T2. Fine. The stoichiometric metal oxidation reaction A plus O2 is equal to A2 is in equilibrium at 1 atm pressure. Okay, this reaction is in equilibrium at 1 atm pressure, so it is occurring in a normal environment at a temperature less than T1. Okay, if the temperature increases, which scheme represents the correct standard free energy change versus temperature plot? Okay, so this is a problem of simple Illingham diagram problem. Okay, so we need to understand this is the melting point of A and this is the melting point of AO2, right? So we know from Illingham diagram that is delta G equal to delta H minus T delta S. So these are at a standard, so delta G naught equal to delta H naught minus T delta H. And this is the plot between delta G naught and temperature. So if you see the plot, then delta G naught and the slope which we have got is what? Slope is here minus delta S naught, right? Now when temperature is increasing and it is up to T1, suppose let it be at T1, what happens? We are heating, so we are supplying some amount of heat, and that's why there is a change in the free energy, and basically the change in free energy is such that it is favoring the equation. So it is fine up to the temperature T1. Okay, now from T1 to T2, suppose you see, okay, then what happens? The reaction is A plus O2 is equal to AO2. Solid, this is also in solid and this is in gas. So delta S naught is equal to S product minus S reactant, right? Okay, fine. So up to T1, if you see up to T1, in the right hand side it is a solid, right? It is a solid basically. So solid has got entropy less minus solid. Here minus with solid plus gas, and gas has got higher entropy. So overall this delta S naught will be what? Negative, right? That's why the slope is positive, because slope is minus delta S naught. Okay, now in between T1 to T2 means for going up to T2 means after T1. So basically after T1 you find, then after T1 it is happening like again product entropy of product minus entropy of reactant it will be. So as product is nothing but it is in solid, it is fine, but in the reactant the A is getting in liquid, right, becoming liquid, and oxygen it is in gas phase only. So here in the reactant side the solid is getting transformed into liquid, and we know that the entropy of liquid is more as compared to solid, so it is more again more. So basically the negative will be what, higher negative it will be. So this will be higher negative, so this will be higher negative, that's why the slope here will be more positive. So initially the slope is this one, suppose, then the next slope should be higher than this one. So which is the favorable situation? B, C and D. It can be anyone, B, C, D, because wait, no, it can be only in the case of C. See here, the slope is this one and next slope is higher, right? Next slope here the slope is this one and the next slope is lower in the case of B. Again here the slope is this one and the next slope is lower, higher. So the option C will be only the favorable situation. Now see after T2. After T2 also product minus reactant it will be, right? So in the product you see A2 is getting into liquid, right? Liquid. So liquid minus an A is already in liquid and oxygen is in gas. So now the product is getting into liquid. So the overall the entropy of product will be somewhat higher. So whatever the negative will be, then it will be lesser than what we obtained after T1. When the amount of negative will be lesser than what we obtain after T1, that's why the slope will be slightly lower. So this is also favoring, this is the slope, and again the slope has lowered. So option C will be the correct answer. So this is a very abstract question basically, because we need to predict if the solid phase will have lesser entropy, then liquid phase is somewhat more entropy, and gas will be somewhat. Okay, so according to this you can tell about this. Okay, now let us move to next question. Okay, a continuous cast steel slab 1 meter by 1 meter into 0.1 mm at 1298 Kelvin cools in air. The initial rate of heat loss in kilowatt from the top surface of the slab by radiation and convection is. So it is asking about the heat loss using radiation and convection both. So these are the things which are given. The ambient temperature is 298, emissivity of steel is 0.8, convective heat transfer coefficient equal to 4.6, Stephen Boltzmann constant equal to 5.7 into this. Okay, so let us draw first the slab over here. So if you see, this is the slab continuously cast 1 meter by 1 meter it is, and the thickness is 0.1 meter, and it is asking about the heat loss from the surface only. The temperature here for the steel it is 1298 Kelvin, right? And the outside temperature is 298 Kelvin, right? So heat is getting lost in terms of radiation plus convection, right? Convection happens through the air basically. Okay, now we know equation for a heat loss means heat transfer through radiation. It is emissivity into Stephen Boltzmann constant into area temperature difference. So T1 square, T1 4, T2 4, right? So heat loss through convection is heat transfer coefficient into area into delta T. That means T1 minus T2, right? These are the equation which we need to use here. Okay, so E is nothing but emissivity here. So we will combine these two equations. So E sigma A T1, that is T1 4 minus T2 4 plus HA T1 minus T2, right? So we'll put the values over here. E is 0.8. Stephen Boltzmann constant sigma is equal to 5.7 into 10 power minus 8, right? And all units are in standard, so let it be. And area, it is asking about the top surface only, so area will be what? 1 meter by 1 meter, so 1 meter square. T1, so T1 is the higher temperature at which the slab is, that is 1298 to the power 4 minus 298 to the power 4 plus H, it is given as 4.6, area it is given 1298 minus 298, right guys? So if you solve this one, you solve by yourself. So the basic or the most important thing was the equation. You need to remember this equation, and if you solve this one, then your answer will be, I have calculated this one, so I am not going to calculate right now, 133.678, right guys? So this is the answer. In kilowatt. So remember, this is the answer in kilowatt. So you need to calculate this one in kilowatt. Now let us move to next question. The Pourbaix plot of the reaction Al3 plus 2H2O is equal to AlO2 minus plus 4H plus in potential E versus pH diagram E. Okay. So guys, first see what is a Pourbaix diagram. Pourbaix diagram is a diagram between the electrochemical voltage versus the pH. Means the role of pH and the electrochemical voltage, okay, to determine the stability of different phases, okay, at different pH and different electric potential, basically you can say. So if you see here the equation Al3 plus 2H2O is equal to AlO2 minus plus 4H plus, right? This is a equilibrium reaction. This is the equilibrium reaction where the all amount of the electron which is flowing, it is getting consumed and it is forming a product. Basically it is forming a complete product. So we will write here the Nernst equation here. So from Nernst equation we determine what kind of plot it should be. So E is equal to E naught minus 0.059 by N log, if you see, this will be what? H plus to the power 4 wait, yeah. H plus AlO2 minus this will be the equation. And since this is at equilibrium, this is at equilibrium, so E will be what? 0. So here E naught equal to minus 0.059 n. N is how much? It is 3 log H plus to the power 4. Right? Al3 plus concentration and Al O2 minus concentration, and H2O we can take it as 1. Okay, so from here, since there is a E naught and this E naught is a fixed value, so this will be what? Nothing but a log AlO2 minus, this is the concentration, right? So this will be also some kind of fixed value. Al3 plus will be something kind of fixed value, or okay, and E naught is also a fixed value, so we can write 4 log H plus equal to some kind of K, right? So this will be minus log H plus is equal to minus K by 4, something like this. Okay, minus K by 4, right? It is minus K. So minus log H plus is nothing but a what? This is pH. So pH is some kind of constant K. So according to this reaction, the pH will be in terms of constant, means it will not depend on the electrochemical potential. So pH is equal to some kind of constant K. So this is favored, or this is shown in diagram C. Okay guys, so remember this one, that for a balanced equilibrium cell reaction, where some kind of product is basically getting formed, then in this case the reaction is independent of electrochemical potential, right? Okay, now let us move to next question. CaCO3 dissociates in a closed system according to the reaction CaCO3 is equal to CaO plus CO2. Assuming the reaction is in thermodynamic equilibrium, the degree of freedom. Okay, so it is basically heated in a closed system. Right? It is a closed system. So where their pressure can change and the temperature, since the heating is also taking place, so temperature will also vary. So basically, the equation which you will use is the simple phase rule C minus P plus 2. We will not use here the condensed phase rule, because it is not talking about a pressure which is constant. Okay, so we will use the simple phase rule. Now we need to find the component here, right? Then phase we need to find. Okay, so let us first see phase. When this equilibrium reaction is there, then first is the solid one phase. This is solid 2, and this is gas. So they are basically 3 phases, right? If you see the components, so component is basically the minimum number of constituent required to tell its composition, right? So what will be the minimum required? If suppose we tell the concentration of CaO and CO2, then we can say the concentration of CaCO3, right? Or if you have the concentration of this CaCO3 and CO2, then we can say about the CO, right? So this will be what? This will be nothing but the constituent, the minimum number of constituent, it will be what? 2. Okay. Now there is one more trick to find the number of components in this type of problem, in this type of reaction basically. So how you will do? This is nothing but total constituents minus relation between them. or that is called as independent relation between them. The total constituent here, you can see here the three constituents are there, and what is the relation? There is one independent relation. Basically this is giving other two, right? So one relation is there, so 3 minus 1, that will be 2. So this will be the number of components. So this is the trick to remember here. Okay, so f equal to c minus p plus 2. I will put this one. C is 2, p is 3, right, plus 2. So this implies minus 1 plus 2, that is 1 is the correct answer in the case of question number 35. Okay, so this is your answer. Now let us move to question number 36. A ladle containing molten steel is being discharged. The relative forces are listed in column 1. Match with them their corresponding expressions in column 2. So these are the different forces which are acting in the ladle, basically the ladle metal. Mu is equal to viscosity, U is characteristic velocity, L is characteristic length. Okay guys, so mu is viscosity. So viscosity basically tells about the shear force which acts between the two layers of liquid, right? Characteristics velocity, it has nothing but the unit of velocity, meter per second. Characteristic length, it has unit of n. If you see viscosity, then viscosity has got unit of Newton second per meter square. Okay, G is acceleration due to gravity. Okay, P is pressure. Okay, so you need to find what are the different relations, like different forces. So you see pressure force. So pressure force, if you see pressure force means like we are applying some amount of pressure and the force which is applied to create such pressure. So pressure force will be what? The pressure multiplied by its area. Simple. Okay. Then inertia force. So inertia force is basically the logically it tells about the force which is because of somebody's motion, just motion, the state of that body. So this will be related to the motion. So motion will be described by what? So motion will be described by basically its velocity, position or mass. Its mass, it will be basically. So inertia force will come because of mass and velocity. So rho defines mass, and here also it defines mass in option 2. But in the 2, G is there. So G is basically comes in terms of gravity force. So 2 will not match with Q. So Q will match with basically 3. Now option 3, gravity force. So gravity force, if you see gravity force because of the pulling of the earth. So whenever there is pulling, so this will be a pull, a mass will be a pull with the help of gravitational force. So G term should be there. So R will match with 2. And viscous force. So viscous force is there. So viscous force comes from the viscosity. So S will match with 1. So this was simple actually. If you find the unit of this all option, then it will be Newton, because from this equation you find using the unit balance, then you will find the unit is in Newton. Okay, so the correct answer will be option A. Now let us move to next question. A solution contains 10 to power minus 3 m of Fe3 plus, okay, at 25 degrees centigrade. The solubility product of FeOH whole 3 is 10 power minus 39. Assuming activity equals concentration, the minimum pH at which Fe3 plus will precipitate as FeO3 is. Okay, so it is fine. It is asking about the solubility product. So Fe3 plus right. So this will be the balance equation. If you dissociate this one, then what will be your balance equation? Your balance equation will be this one. Now K will be what? Fe3 plus OH minus 2 power Q, then activity of FeOH whole 3. This will be equal to 1 and K will be nothing but KSP. So KSP, it is given 10 power minus 39 is equal to Fe3 plus it is given as 10 power minus 3, right? Yes. Into OH we need to find, because we need to find the pH. Okay, fine. Now simply take log, so minus 39 log 10 is equal to minus 3 log 10 plus 3 log OH minus, simple. So this implies minus 3 and minus 39. So if we minus 39 plus 3 is equal to 3 log OH minus, right? This implies minus 12 equal to log OH minus. So this implies minus log OH minus is equal to minus 12. This implies this is what? POH into 12. So we know pH plus POH equal to 14. So what will be pH? pH equal to 14 minus 12, that is 2. So this will be your answer. Because this was a very simple question. Now let us move to next question. The question number 40. A zinc electrowinning cell is being operated at a current of 400 ampere volt and voltage of 3.5 volt and a cathodic current efficiency of 90%. The specific energy consumption in kilojoule per kg of zinc is, and here it is given atomic weight of Zn is 65. Right guys? So guys, here see, this is an electrowinning process. So in electrowinning, what we do, we create a solution and from that we extract the ions and we deposit on the cathode, and this helps to get the pure metal out from the solution, right? This is the electrowinning process. Like this is the solution and it is got ion. We'll place an anode and a cathode. Anode and cathode we place, and at the cathode what happens, the ions dissolve. Like here the reaction which is taking place, Zn2 plus 2 electron is equal to Zn, right? Okay, and the current which is passing over here is 400 ampere and voltage is 3.5 volt, right? It is clear from here. Now so we will use here Faraday equation. Okay, so Faraday equation will be used such that, see here guys, if you do not remember directly the Faraday equation, because it becomes very cumbersome to remember, so you can use a simple trick to derive basically Faraday equation and proceed. Now when two electron moves, then we get one atom of zinc, right? So when two electron is moving, so we are depositing how much? The mass of one atom, that will be molecular mass divided by the Avogadro number, right guys? Basically this will be this one. Now we know that I amount of current is there, so I is equal to Q by T, right? So Q will be what? That amount of charge. So 2 is 2 electron charge, right? So if you are giving Q amount of charge, then what will be the mass deposited? M by 2 into Na into Q, and Q is nothing but I into T, right? So this is the amount of mass which will be deposited will be MIT by 2Na. It is simple, right? It is simple. Now here 2Na, so 2 electron charge basically 2Na, MIT by 2Na, and this will be the charge of electron will be also there, because 2 electron charge is there, na? Yes, 2 electron charge. So this changes to MIT by 2 into F, Faraday constant. The charge of 1 mole of electron will be how much? 2F. Basically F, that will be Faraday constant. So now remember here that time is not given, so the current is basically flowing. So time will consider some amount of fixed time, that is it is flowing such that we are producing zinc, right? So we will calculate here the for this charge Q, okay, for IT basically we are calculating the mass which is getting deposited, right? So MIT, M65 into I will be what? 400 ampere, but here it is given that current efficiency is 90%, means only 90% of current is basically used to deposit at the cathode. So 0.9 to time, let it be T, 2 into 96500, right guys? Okay, now here from the question, what is the total amount of energy which is getting spent is current, it is given 400 ampere voltage. So power will be what? VI 400 into 3.5, right? This is given in power. So power is nothing but joule per second, right guys? Okay, so this is given in joule per second. Now that means for a fixed amount of time, suppose let it be for a fixed amount of time, the time will be constant, that is, so for a fixed amount of time, the energy spent will be what? 400 into 3.5, and for a fixed amount of time the deposition will be what? 65 into 400 to 0.9, 2 into 96500. So now I'll write here. So the energy per unit kg will be what? The total energy, that is 400 into 3.5 divided by 64 into 400 into 0.9 divided by 2 into 96500. Okay, so this will be 11547 kilojoule per kg of zinc, right? So this is the way to calculate. Here the time is not given, so we will consider some amount of fixed time for which this mass is getting deposited, and here the energy is also some amount of energy it is consumed for that fixed time only. Okay, now let us move to next question. Pure metal A and B form two real binary solid solutions alpha and beta at temperature T and pressure P. The free energy versus composition plots for both the solutions are given below. Okay, so G versus composition diagram is here. So when these two phases are in equilibrium, okay, then it is in equilibrium, then what we do, we draw a slope between them. We draw a slope. Then when you draw a slope, then basically the mu at A should be equal to mu at B. That means mu means chemical potential. So chemical potential for atom A in A phase, or suppose alpha phase, so mu chemical potential of A should be equal to in beta phase. Basically it is written like chemical potential of A, if you are taking A in alpha, should be equal to chemical potential of A in beta, and also chemical potential of B in alpha should be equal to chemical potential of B in beta. This is the condition for equilibrium, for chemical equilibrium. So which is the option here? Mole fraction of A in alpha is equal to mole fraction of A in beta, and mole fraction of beta. Okay, so mole fraction, it is asking about basically the mole fraction. So we don't need to bother about the mole fraction. Basically, so activity of A in alpha, activity of A in alpha equal to activity of A in beta, and activity of B in alpha equal to So option C will be the correct answer. Chemical potential basically also gives idea of the activity. Basically, chemical potential is nothing but it also gives the idea of activity. So activity of A in alpha should be equal to activity of B, activity of A and beta, and activity of B and alpha should be equal to activity of B and beta. Okay, that is also called as chemical potential. Chemical potential and activity both can be correlated. Okay, next question. Pure orthorhombic sulfur transformed to stable monoclinic sulfur above 368.5 Kelvin. Applying third law of thermodynamics, the value of entropy of transformation at 368.5 Kelvin is. Entropy change associated with heating orthorhombic sulfur from 0 Kelvin. Now here it is at 0 Kelvin. From here we are heating to 368.5 Kelvin. Okay. And the entropy change associated with this one is delta S naught equal to 36.86. Entropy change associated with cooling monoclinic sulfur from 368. Then we are trying to cool, right? We are cooling here. Again bringing to 0 Kelvin, and here the entropy associated minus 37.8 joule per Kelvin, delta S2. Okay, and we are returning back to 0 Kelvin. So we know that for this kind of system, delta S system should be 0. That means delta S1 plus delta S2 is equal to 0. Okay. Okay. Pure orthodynamics, applying the value of entropy of transformation. Okay. So delta S1 plus delta S2, and there will be one more entropy associated with delta S transformation, right? So delta S transformation plus delta S1, delta S1 this one, delta S transformation plus delta S S2, okay, to get back to the original position. So delta S transformation equal to what? Minus delta S1 plus delta S2. Minus delta S1 is 36.86 minus 37.8. Okay, So if you do the calculation, that will be what? 0.94, and this will be the answer. So here the complete entropy change for a system should be 0. Okay, so we will apply this concept. Okay guys, so thank you. Okay guys, so thank you for listening here. Hope this will help you in your GATE preparation.